Hello everyone, it's Uncle Destiny here with you, and we're going to be doing our reading now for the month of December, the last month of this year, this calendar year, also the month in which we have the winter solstice happening. So we're going to see what this end of this year has for everyone and what the solstice is shifting in energies into, so that we know what the next calendar year is going to be holding on to, or at least beginning to introduce us to. So let's go ahead and get the ancestors in and see what they have, and let's hope that everyone had a good Thanksgiving and it's going to be a good solstice. All right, we have cast the bones, and this one is again focused on a much more tight grouping. So there's a lot of things that are coming together and they are staying very much related to each other. So our dice this time ended up being a number 11. So when we move in, what we're looking at here, this one is going to be work. These are family and home, or this one can be either home or social. And so we'll just start with these two, is doing that they're closely connected. They are on top of the shell, but they're collected here at the base, but they also widen at the bottom. Now, what that says to me for this period of we're coming up on with the winter solstice, yes, there is an aspect of closeness and togetherness, but there's also an aspect of distance. And fundamentally, one of the biggest difficulties we have with this time of the year, not because of the solstice, but because of the, let's call it the trappings, the ideals and functions of the year, which is the fact that we have this as the holiday period, whether it's Thanksgiving, whether it's Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Christmas, whatever you want, whatever you practice. There's a point where we are coming together. This is also the point of the dark time of the year. We begin to move into the dark time of the year. So there's also just a natural goal of us being closer together. So the difficulty here is that we're also around people that we don't necessarily always want to be around. That the rest of the year we may avoid, that the rest of the year that we may have good reason to avoid. And so there is going to be the issue of struggling with the balance of who are the family members, who are the friends that we are together with and can be around well, which is the closeness, and then where are the ones that we have to keep a certain distance. It's not saying that family isn't important, but we cannot operate with family being something that's gotten a carte blanche and does not have nuance. It does not always break down to something simple. We have to be able to operate with the nuance, with the subtleties, with the conflicts. So there will be times with family members that you are close to, and there's going to be times with family members that you are distant to, depending on the circumstances. Now, the fact that we also have this sitting on top of the shell, and the family bone is the one that is directly on top of the bone, on top of the shell, shows that, again, this is about conflicts that are outside of self. These are the conflicts, again, dealing with our family members. Just because they are family does not mean we always are going to get along with them. And as a classic saying is, we don't always pick our family. Correct. We don't pick our family, but we do pick the friends that we build our family of choice from. And that family of choice is also outside. So this is going to be about balancing both the family of blood and the family of choice. And we may not always find healing in the family of blood. We may find it in the family of choice. And there are some people that the opposite will be true. They find healing in their family. And this is going to be different for each person. So fundamentally, this period of time is going to be good to not always assume that everything is fixed the same way it is in your family, or not in your family, and in the family of choice. So there are going to be parts of it that are going to be close. There's going to be parts of it that are going to be away. But everything isn't always going to be in this relationship to the outside, to to your other family members, and even between families, such as the aspect of who are we spending the holiday or the Christmas Eve with, and who are we spending Christmas Day with? Who are we celebrating our Hanukkahs with? Who are we celebrating the Kwanzas with? All of these things are about who are we interacting with, both as individuals and as families. Now, when we go over here to the work bone, that's also on top of the shell, which is also, again, dealing with the outer. There's going to still be a lot of connections dealing with our greater social relationships too, and with our work. And why I say that is because we're also dealing with social standards. And that's also the gap that I see between where work and our social, family, home standpoints are. Those may also be at odds. And the outside requirements of spending more time at work to cover the holidays, or having to travel away from family members and other people that we are connected to because there is something that we made a commitment to. Now, again, there's also, as I've said in other times, understanding the difference between the work we do to pay the bills and keep the roof overhead and the work that we are spiritually and fundamentally here. And sometimes that will cause a gulf between our family and our homes, and sometimes our social connections, which is what I see here with the shell being on top. Again, we're dealing with a lot of the outer world. But even though the work is here, this is what we're supposed to be, this is work that is highly supported. So we've got the spirit is all very much behind this element of what is your work to be done. There is new intellect, new beginnings. And I would also say that in this new time, this new period, if you have any chance for trainings, any times for lessons, since there is the downtime that happens around Christmas and between New Year's, that's a time to study and make it useful to yourself. Doesn't mean you have to do hard out, we have a test or write an essay, but it does mean be open to learning in that time. So beyond now, we move over here to the quartz piece, which we have here next to the broken rib bone, which is flipped up. And so we've got the points of it. And often I see this as being a cane, but I see this more about being about broken memories and memories that are incomplete. Now, if you notice that the position of it is also just below the family bone. So there are broken memories that are either going to be built during this time, or there are ones that need to be mended in this period with the degree of family connection. Now, what's more is that the aspect that this is near the separate part of this, where we have the distance between the two, means that there is going to be a separation between what those images are. There is someone who is going to remember an experience, an encounter, a relation that may not be true. And there is a message of people will listen and follow the stories that they want to hear. That same goes with memories. And we have to remember and have to also accept that some people will hold on to something, hold on to a memory that may not be true because it fits what they need. Even if it might be wrong, even if it might not be conducive to relationships for long term. There is a reason that the memory is there, and it is a reason the memory is being held on to. And at that point, sometimes it is more in our best efforts to just let it go. And let them be, because they're not in the place or time to be able to make the changes. And there will be supports around all of those aspects, but trying to make someone believe something that they are not, or may they not be ready to, isn't going to help matters. So let's also go over here to our dice, which is number 11. This is the house of groups, friendships, social courses, and society. So keeping again with this image of what does it mean for us to be in groups? What does it mean about our friendships? Does it mean about our social relationships and our society? Ultimately, all of these things are about relationships. And we have to also look at whether the relationship is yielding everything it possibly can for each person. We're not looking at the short-term instantaneous goals. We're looking at the long-term goals. Is there a relationship that is positively funded by this? Is there a relationship that is necessary? But that does not mean that relationship is in all venues. So if the necessity is you work with this person, does not mean you have to share your life with this person. If it means right now that you have to stay put someplace, does not mean you're staying there forever. We have to look at what the long-term relational value is that's going on, and there's going to be support and structure around that, and if anything, helping to heal it. But we have to be open to that by also looking at what is the social relationship at play, because it's not always an obvious one, and we must go look for a social long-term good as opposed to just a social idea. And that's what I say with the aspect of, just because somebody is our family member does not guarantee that we are going to love them or that they're going to have our safety in mind. They may be very well lost in whatever they're doing and may not see that relational value that's at play. And that relational value is expressed in groups, in friendships, in our social relationships, as well as our society. And it's understanding the differences of that. And when we know that we cannot receive it there, we must find it someplace else, but understand that there is a healthier alternative out there, and that very well may be the family of choice, when the family of blood has failed us. So these two outer ones, there's going to be a lot of shifts and change. We're going to be looking at the new year later and seeing what's coming in. But there is always going to be stuff that's coming in for our work. And this is something else. We'll know more about it next month after the solstice, after its energies come in. So this is Uncle Destiny on behalf of the, well, I almost forgot this one over here, which is much like this. There's much more energy coming in. This is something that's going to be coming in more in 2020, but we're getting the ramifications of it is starting to show up. And I think we'll know more after the solstice as well. So this is Uncle Destiny on behalf of the ancestors, the Orisha, and all of our spirits. Wishing you a happy Thanksgiving and a good winter solstice, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa. Bless you all. Ashe.